Almost 8 years ago to the day, Lazy Game Reviews, who now just goes by LGR, posted a video titled The Sims 4, 2 years of meh. For as long as I've been playing The Sims, which has been for about 12 or 13 years probably, LGR has been a reliable source for honest pack reviews for The Sims. But today, with The Sims 4's 10th birthday coming up in just a few days, I instead want to take a retrospective look back on his opinions on The Sims 4 2 years into its life cycle, and ask the question of whether they are still applicable to the game today, all these years later. So while LGR makes a bunch of really insightful comments during his original video, and I definitely recommend you go check it out, after watching it a good few times myself at this point, I've organized his arguments into two overarching points. The first one being that The Sims 4 didn't iterate enough on the previous games in the series. So the key takeaways from LGR's video on this are that first, the first three mainline sim games were for the most part drastic improvements on each other, with the exception of the first game, which of course just brought an entirely new experience to gamers. The Sims 4, however, didn't seem to do this. And secondly, that The Sims 4's improvements, those being better performance on lower end machines, more populated lots, getting rid of rabbit holes, and the emotion system and multitasking don't live up to expectations. So for me as a Sims 3 lover, I have to admit that I agree with LGR's points here, but this video's focus is on exploring whether or not the arguments could still be applicable today. To start, let's look at how those improvements are doing now. Well, honestly, the game seems to be running pretty bad for some players. For me, I have a decent gaming PC, yet I'm still getting tons of lag, and I know I'm not the only one. New packs seem to be coming out with very little quality assurance testing done, and general glitches are rife. This has got to the point where a few months ago, the Sims team announced that they were putting together a team to quote-unquote invest in the core game experience, which will in theory be helping to fix bugs and general game performance issues. These bug updates seem to be coming out pretty regularly, sometimes within just a few days of each other, when an inappropriate familial relationship glitch once again reared its ugly head back in July. Getting those fixes is great, but of course, it would be nice to have the issue ironed out prior to new packs releasing in the first place. As for the improvement of lots being populated when you visit them, this is definitely still something I appreciate in The Sims 4, but as way more packs have been added since LGR's original video, we of course now have the issue of out-of-place townies showing up, which can be really immersion breaking. I'm thinking about the Judith Wards and the Elphabas popping up in quaint small-town human Willow Creek kind of vibes. Next, rabbit holes were gone for a good while, but now they are back. Having only recently got the Horse Ranch expansion pack, the fact that competitions and going out on the little community job things are rabbit holes is really sticking out in my mind, but I know that a lot of the other recent and not so recent packs have also been guilty of leaning on them to tell us that something cool is happening, rather than letting us experience it with our Sims for ourselves. As an aside, I am enjoying playing with the Horse Ranch pack. Other than that, that's what footage you're seeing in the background of this video. As for emotions and multitasking, I feel very meh about both of them, to be honest. Emotions, like LGR said in his video, are still super easy to manipulate for the most part. I do like how we now have the scared emotion, which was added back in 2021, I believe. It definitely adds a lot more weight to the heavy thunderstorms and moments like that. But otherwise, I still feel like they can just get in the way sometimes. Multitasking, again, is just a bit meh. It's nice to see when Sims can communicate while doing other things, but at the same time, why are random Sims at the bar still just barging into my conversations in 2024? Moving on though, in terms of iterating on previous versions of The Sims, I think that The Sims 4 has had some new, genuinely cool features added over time, whether that be through free updates or expansions. I would like to see some of these make a return in The Sims 5 or whatever that is for sure. First up, as a rags to riches lover, I adore the eco aspects. I really like the added layer of challenge which can come from having to manage your power and water consumption, and how this can impact your household bills. This of course pairs well with the off-the-grid base game lot trait and the simple living lot trait that came with cottage living, both of which can help make, again, general household management much more of a challenge. Along these same lines, I love how expanded the gardening skill has become through grafting, and how you can work to automate your gardens in some sense over time. However, speaking of the game's poor performance, this skill can can be glitched at times. For the family players, we've got the entirely new and never before seen infant's life state, even if a lot of features which make gameplay for them fun are locked behind growing together. We've also got the most inclusive cast ever, and aside from the lack of creator style, I think build mode is also the best it's been in terms of its approachability, but also how wildly detailed you can get with new features like platforms and movable windows and doors. I'm sure there are way more features that I'm missing here, and bear in mind that I don't own all the packs too, so clearly the game has been built on over time to the point where it's brought new features which we've not seen in the Sims series before, and I would bloody well hope so after 10 years. But to play devil's advocate, I'll pose the questions of, are these features enough and could it have been too little too late? I'll leave you to chew on those for a while as we move on to the second overarching argument that I drew from LGR's video, that being that The Sims 4 lacks meat to go with its salad and dressing. To start here is the idea that new packs aren't adding distinctly different or unique gameplay experiences, they're just adding more ways to do the same things. Now, as was mentioned above, I think we have some packs that have added some genuinely unique aspects to The Sims 4's gameplay. Again, like eco lifestyle, but also get together with its club systems, seasons with the ability to create custom holidays, and again, I'm sure a few other examples will come to mind for you guys. However, drinking most types of nectar introduced in Horse Ranch, juice from eco lifestyle, potions from Realm of Magic, and herbal concoction things from Outdoor Retreat will have some way to manipulate your Sims' emotions. While some of these craftable items have some cool effects, going further, we have had social media introduced in about 3 different packs. We've also had climbing in different iterations between Snowy Escape and the fitness stuff pack, I believe. And again, I'm sure I'm forgetting more ways that we have had similar aspects of gameplay being reskinned, repackaged, and resold to us, which is a little bit frustrating, but also confusing at times as a player. I think this in a way also touches on the quality of new packs that we've received over the years too. First, while worlds added in new packs have got bigger in terms of how much room you have to walk around, they feel emptier. It feels like they contain less collectibles and general things to check out. Maybe because they're so spread out. Yet visually they feel so cluttered and confused because I feel like I should be able to pan my camera over to somewhere, but I can't because it's just set dressing and stuff like that. Perhaps we could forgive this, but the game increasingly feels like it's style over substance, in that the amount of gameplay related aspects we've got in newer expansions over the years seems to have decreased. I've heard multiple simmers note how packs like the latest Lovestruck expansion, it feels like a game pack's worth of content. I've not got that one yet, but again, from what footage I've seen of it, it definitely smells like it could be the case. Leading on from this, I think, is the bottom line of LGR's arguments. The Sims 4 is surface level and lacks meaningful, compelling gameplay. Nothing in it really feels real. LGR rounds out his video by noting how he is waiting for that extra layer of depth to be brought to the game. And now I'm not going to speak for LGR, and I hope this video hasn't come across like I'm trying to do that. I'm just bringing my own opinions to his arguments. And so yeah, I'm not going to talk about the extent to which that may have been achieved in a way that might satisfy him now. However, I think that this that I'm throwing up on the screen right now is an interesting piece of data from a few years back that sheds light on how captivating or not The Sims 4 is today. Now, of course, take this with a pinch of salt, but as we can see, 568 million Sims were created during 2023 and 43 million infants were born, but there were just 23 million Sim deaths. To me, that suggests that many players are getting bored of the game before reaching the end of their Sims lives for the most part, but maybe I'm looking too deeply into things here. And on noting how nothing in The Sims 4 really feels real, I'm not the first to draw on the criticism that the game feels like a bit of a dollhouse simulator at times, where the world bends to your will rather than feeling like you are just a part of a world that already existed before you were shut out of Creator Sim. Right, pause really quickly here. I do want to jump in and say that I know we had the Neighborhood Stories update, however, I don't think that it's optimized very well. If you leave the game for about a year with all of the features enabled, everybody in your town will either have died, adopted 8 kids, or 8 dogs, and they'll be in jobs which make no sense to them and stuff like that. So while there are some story progression aspects that have been introduced obviously through that update over time, I don't think that it's a very good solution, and I don't think that it fundamentally changes the feeling that The Sims 4 is just a dollhouse that you have entire control over. In terms of simmer preference, I know that people fall on either end of the spectrum in terms of how much control they like to have over their gameplay and stuff like that, but given how popular videos about how to never get bored of the game or how to create super deep lore are nowadays really popular, I think it highlights how EA has kind of shifted the responsibility of finding meaningfulness in the game onto players. Maybe I'm a part of the problem here because I've now made it my channel's mission to help players and myself find intentional and meaningful gameplay in their favorite life sims, which obviously includes The Sims 4. But I also think in a way that EA's trajectory with the types of packs they're producing are potentially gently pushing players to focus more on aesthetics rather than gameplay. Firstly, game packs have disappointingly done a runner like stuff packs did a while back, as we've not had one in about 2 years now. We've also not seen a gameplay related kit since the very first Bust the Dust kit. The ocean of others we've got every month or so are all aesthetically based in either CAS or build buy mode. In my opinion, Sims 4 is not the only semi-recent game, I guess, to be guilty of this, in terms of pushing players to focus on looks rather than gameplay and turning the player into the center of the universe. For example, I believe that Animal Crossing New Horizons also gives the same feeling of the world and everyone in it just being your pretty little toys, not people with jobs and families and unique stories or lives, I guess. All of that is to say, using LGR's words, The Sims 4 to me definitely does still have that ethereal feeling in many ways. I can turn my brain off to play for a while and just ignore it, but overcoming it does require a lot of effort on the player. But anyway, bringing things back to LGR's central idea, I think there's definitely some evidence to suggest that the many years of meh label that I've used on the title of this video could still apply to the trajectory of The Sims 4 over the 8 years since that video was posted. Which honestly, knowing that video came out 8 years ago and I watched it when it first was uploaded is scary. But also, don't let that discount the joy that you found in the game. I, for one, have been very critical of the game in the past, and I still stand by my opinions expressed back then, but I took about a 2-year hiatus from playing, and now I'm getting back into it and I'm having fun, even if the game is a little bit rough around the edges. So definitely look at this as a yes and moment, or that's how I'm seeing it at least. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And speaking of having some fun with the game, if you fancy sticking around, check out this video on the screen here where I attempt to have 100 babies in 100 days in The Sims 4. But other than that, thanks so much for watching guys, and I'll see you again soon.